Okay, wanted to do a short update on the Subaru since I did shoot a little bit yesterday just regarding that front bumper. These are some other issues that are going to be taken care of. The hood has some hail damage, but as you can probably tell from the rest of the car, that's not the biggest issue at hand. The radiator support is absolute garbage, completely rusted away, so that's going to have to come off. This is the front subframe. There are now only 2 bolts holding this thing on. I want to try and go under there, maybe even tonight, and knock those loose and get this whole thing off. These are parts that are specific to the USDM WRX, at least back in 2002, and this happened to pretty much all of them. The front bumper support is another one that's off the car. That was pretty bad, but there was enough left that I could actually weld some patch panels into it and get it painted and coated, and that's ready to go back on the car once this radiator support is replaced. On the side, there's this dent, which happened when I lived in the city, and some random scumbag decided to sit on my car, which was really nice of him, which is one of the reasons why I don't live in the city anymore. Side skirts are almost the whole way off. I got most of the way through that last time I was working on this car, and then it started raining, so I ended up not finishing that. The interior, you can see that's properly gutted, but I'll get back to that in a moment. This is an interesting section. This is where some clear coat was peeling off, and the band-aid that I kind of put on there didn't really seem to do a whole lot because the clear coat started peeling around the sides right here, and on the other side as well. So this rear passenger side door, there's a big door ding in it. That was actually on it before I got the car, but this panel is bad enough where I think this could get painted. A lot of the other panels on the car are bad, but not terrible. This one's terrible. Let's see. This was repaired last year, last fall, probably around this time, and it's just been primered. I'd like to paint just this section and you know, get that looking like the rest of the car does. But the patch job was actually not as difficult as I thought. It's the first time I had ever done body work, and it's pretty solid. So it'll last for what my purposes need. Let's see. You can see the clear coat right up here is pretty rough. It's coming off a little bit, but it's not terrible. Again, that's if I get to the point where I want to do something with that, maybe I'll do it, but it's definitely not a pressing issue at the current time. The roof, there's a couple of these little spots which I think was possibly hail damage, possibly something else, but there are a couple little rough spots on the roof. Definitely a couple along the leading edge. The leading edge is pretty bad on this thing, as you can see. All the way over on the other side where there's the duct tape, I just put on there to kind of seal it off, I guess, after I sanded that. But I want to come back probably within the next couple of days with the grinder and the flap disc and just get all of the rust out of there. Maybe hit it with a little bit of Bondo and then prime it, and well, I may not even prime it. I might just plaster dip it, but I think I'm just going to plaster dip the whole roof black, because it would just be a lot of work to get it back to looking good. You can see another big spot right there. That one's probably the size of a $50. And there's a scratch from having bikes on the roof. It's not in real good shape. Along the back end of the car, we have more issues with the clear coat peeling from the rear bumper. This one's just going to get the same treatment as the front bumper. There's a spot right here where someone backed into my car, and one right here where someone really did a nice job on it. Some sort of a red car apparently did that one. And of all the times this has happened, no one's ever left a note. So don't be a scumbag. Leave a note if you ever hit somebody else's car in a parking lot or wherever else. But in this case, of course, they didn't. The spoiler, there are a couple of bad spots on here. This is just touch-up paint. I've had a bike rack on here for a little while. It was one of the trunk-mounted ones. Not the best decision, but I needed to get my bikes from point A to point B. So, again, the other side skirt just has to come off the rest of the way. The interior is right now completely gutted. Well, not completely gutted, but mostly gutted. You can see there are a couple sections that are rusty, just because there is some moisture coming into this car. There's a little bit down there. Thankfully, nothing is rotted through. I think the moisture is coming in due to this seal, which is completely rotting away. I got a new windshield put in here about 5 years ago, and whoever installed the seal really didn't do a very good job around these corners. I think that's where some water is coming in. But one of these days coming up soon, I'd like to come in here and just really scrub everything out and wire wheel this rust off and coat it with probably with bed liner or something like that after all of the rust is gone. I have a damp rid and yet another damp rid container in here, and they seem to be doing a pretty good job. So if any moisture is coming in, this stuff does a pretty good job of absorbing it and making sure I don't get any more mold on the steering wheel, which last time I was here there was mold all over the steering wheel, and that was pretty unpleasant. And we're gutted all the way back into the trunk. There's a little bit of moisture down there, so I think a seal, a trunk seal, has gone bad as well, but not really a huge deal. I'll probably just do the same kind of thing with the spare tire. Well, just wire brush it and put bed liner in it or something like that. But the back of this car is going to stay gutted. It's probably going to be gutted from the B-pillars back. So everything behind this panel, aside from the door cards, which don't really weigh a whole lot, everything else I'm just going to leave out. I have no reason to ever have rear passengers in this car. But, yeah, the front section, I may not go with the full interior, but most of the interior is going to go back in after everything else is done. So next video will probably be centered more on the mechanical work that needs to happen with this car, which is not a huge amount of work, but there is some things that need to happen before this car is anywhere near ready to be driven again. Alright, thanks for watching.